Good morning, YouTube. I just thought I'd touch on a few more points about owning dogs, or if you're thinking of getting a dog. I mean, in my last video, I discussed how my experiences were with my rescued dogs, but I've compiled a list of 10 points that I think is very important if you're thinking of getting a dog. So the first point for me is if you're living in a household with children or other family members, and one particular family member wants to get a dog, I think you should all be in agreement whether you should get a dog or no. You really have got to sort out who's going to be responsible for the day-to-day care of that dog. So that's point one. Point two, also you need to take into consideration who's going to be responsible for the dog? Who's going to be responsible for walking it? Is your garden big enough? So if it's not big enough, you've still got to walk your dog. Dogs need, quite a bit of exercise to stay healthy and well balanced. And if you've got a really beautiful garden and you get your dog, you've got to be prepared that that dog might be a digger, a bone barrier, might like sleeping on your plants, might like sleeping on your precious plant that cost you, mega money. So these are all things you should be taking into consideration. The third point is who's going to be responsible for feeding the dog? And obviously with feeding a dog comes a cost, and sometimes that cost can be quite a lot, especially if your dog, so let's say you get a rescue dog, and it develops, or even a puppy, it develops a skin problem or teeth problems in older dogs. They have to have special diets. So all that comes at a cost. The other biggest cost you've got to take into consideration is vet's bills. And it's not just that one-off vet bill where you have a problem with your dog. You also have the daily care cost of the dog. For example, flea treatment, worming, keeping the dog clean. So there's a whole bunch of things. Annual inoculations. All that has got a cost factor in it, and it can be quite expensive. Okay, yes, you can get pet insurance, which is probably a good idea, especially in younger dogs. But if you've got an older dog, sometimes it's not always possible to get pet insurance. So that's another cost factor to take into consideration. The other thing is, number 5, property. Is your property suitable to have a dog? You may have unfenced garden where it can get out, or you might have really slippery floors where the dog can't cope with walking around. Is the space big enough for a dog? If you've got a very small house and you go and choose a puppy, is that puppy going to grow up to be a massive dog and going to take up too much space in your property? So the next point is, number 6, is do you get a rescue versus a puppy? Well, I covered in my last video what's involved in getting a rescue, and that is something you've got to take into consideration. What's the background, if any? Because a lot of dogs are picked up roaming around the streets, and adoption centres have no idea what their background is, and the time they spend in the adoption centre is not a good environment for their personality to come out, or they may show a bad personality in an adoption centre and they may be perfectly okay at home. So there's a lot of things to consider there when you do pick up a rescue. Or a puppy. I personally have not had a puppy. I've not had any experience with toilet training or teaching a puppy manners, if you like, and training a puppy. And I personally would find that a challenge. So I probably wouldn't take on a puppy. I'd take on older dogs and dogs that are pretty much toilet trained and all right, they've got a few manners and I can build on what they've already got. So I knew that from the beginning. Like, I took on a dog just after Christmas called Willow, and I videoed it at the time, and I really in my heart, I knew it was the wrong dog for us, but I was so desperate to get another dog after losing Freddie. I made a snap decision, and I made the wrong decision, and I don't mind admitting to everybody that I made the wrong decision. But Willow was fine. I mean, she went back to the rescue centre and she was readopted. But, you know, I didn't quite think that one through. So you really do need to consider all options, whether it's going to be a dog that's fully grown or a puppy. And if you do get a rescue, if you do get a rescue, you could have to give them some expert care. They could be traumatized. They could be, you know, badly beaten in the past, or they could have a whole host of problems that even the adoption centre are not even aware of. So, you know, you've got to be prepared to accept that dog may come with issues. And likewise with a puppy, there's all sorts of puppies. They're all really cute. Every puppy out there is cute. But how big's that puppy going to grow? You know, you need to get the right dog and pick the right puppy for your environment and your physical activity and your house size, your garden size. So that puppy is going to grow up, and that is something you really need to take in consideration, and you need to do your research. You know, different breeds of dogs have different traits. Some are quite happy to snooze around all day, like Ruby here. Some of them want to be up and running around. So you've got to be prepared for that. Number 9, getting a dog is a long-term commitment. You don't get the dog and you play with it for 10 minutes and then, you know, you're bored with it. If you want to get a dog, you must consider that some dogs, especially smaller dogs, can live as old as 18 or 20 years. You know, alright, older dogs don't quite live that long, but it is a full-time, long-term commitment. It's not a 5-minute love it and then get fed up with it. Please don't get a dog if you're not prepared to have that commitment long-term. It's really not fair on the animal, and, you know, it's just not fair at all. And 10, and one of the most important points I think, is you've got to have love and understanding and patience. If you don't have patience and you know you're short-tempered or quick to get upset, because dogs make mistakes. They're not all perfect. They're going to do things wrong. They're going to mess in your house. They're going to tear up your favourite pair of slippers. You know, that they do things wrong, and you have to have patience with them. And you should never hit or physically punish a dog. If you've got full control of your dogs and full understanding of them, you can tell them how you're upset with just your voice alone. And that's all that you need. You'll never, ever do physical punishment, ever. So I hope that helps people decide whether they want to get a dog or no. It is a big decision. It's not something to be taken lightly. And all those 10 points are very important. I'm sure there's a whole host more that I could reel off, but I can't think of them right now. But, you know, please think really hard whether you've got that time, commitment, financially able to, you know, keep the dog for as long as it takes. You know, that is a big cost factor sometimes. And yeah, so hopefully I've covered everything. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like or dislike. I'll catch up with you later, and bye for now.